Good day, this is Leadership TV News at noon. I am Cynthia Onwado. Let's begin now with the NLC protests around the country. It's D-Day and civil servants on the auspices of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, on Tuesday morning trooped out across the states of the Federation to begin a two-day nationwide protest over the prevailing economic hardship and high cost of living in the country. The NLC national leadership had last week issued a notice of a two-day nationwide protest slated for February 27th and 28th over what it called sufferings by Nigerians, especially workers, occasioned by insecurity and failed subsidy removal policy of the President Bola Tinubu administration. The NLC President Ajaero is leading the workers on a protest march which kick-started at the Labour House National Headquarters of the Congress in Abuja to terminate at the National Assembly complex. Also, our correspondents report compliance with the NLC directives in Lagos, Gombe, Ondo and River states, among other states where workers had hit the street to press home their demands for an end to hunger, poverty and insecurity.
You are Mr. Adesina. So, what do you have to say about the protest?
What I'm seeing is really surprised me. The police in this rally sharing water and biscuit. I have never seen it since I was born because I've always been active in any protest that happened in Nigeria. I'm seeing it for the first time. This is it. This biscuit given to me by police, and this is water also given to me, just to refreshing me. To give me more energy so that I'll be able to trek to where we are going. And this is what we are saying. Nigeria will get there. Gradually we will get there. Please, we are sending this message to the president to do the needful. Nigerians are hungry. Initially, the police were even threatening that, okay, this rally should not hold. Look at what they are now doing. It is for everybody. If this country is okay, it is for the benefit of everybody. That is the point we are making. And you can see the protest is very peaceful. And even the police are giving out water and biscuit to everybody. What are we now saying? Mr. President, do the needful. Do the needful. Even the Commissioner of Police in Lagos can do this. You yourself, do the needful. That's what I'm saying.
And now moving on, after recording a stampede at the Yaba distribution point over the weekend, the Nigeria Customs Service on Monday disclosed that it has suspended the disposal of seized food items to the public. Leadership reports that after the service had flagged off the initiative to cushion the effects of the economic hardship and high cost of living in Lagos State on Friday, over 4,000 Nigerians benefited as they purchased 25 kg of rice for 10,000 naira. However, in a press statement made available to leadership on Monday, the National Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Maiwada, said the NSC suspended the exercise to investigate the circumstances surrounding the stampede, which led to the loss of lives, as well as put measures in place to avoid similar situation in the future. Maiwada explained that the distribution exercise began smoothly with crowd control measures to put in place until it ran out of stock, and announced the continuation of the exercise the next day, leading to a stampede as the crowd sought rice bags inside empty containers. Now, investigations have revealed that some parody non-governmental organizations, NGO, within the West African region are now being used to fund terror organizations. The commandant of the National Defense College, NDC Abuja, Rear Admiral Olumuyiwa Olutu, disclosed this at the opening session of a 5-day workshop organized by the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, GIABA. GABA is a specialized institution of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, responsible for facilitating the abduction and implementation of anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism strategies in West Africa. Nigeria was represented at the event by the National Counter-Terrorism Center, that's the NCTC, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, the National Defense College, and the Department of State Services, DSS. In his remarks at the workshop, which provided a platform for ECOWAS member states to brainstorm and create curriculum and training models to counter terror financing within the African or the West African region, which was read by Dr. Adam Abdullahi. The NDC commandant, however, said efforts were on to block all the sources of funds open to terrorist organizations in the country. Well, it's no longer news that President Bola Tinubu has ordered the implementation of the recommendations of the Steve Orosaya Committee report on the merger and scrapping of some agencies of government for efficiency and cost-cutting measures. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) at its Monday, February 26, 2024 meeting approved the implementation of the report about 12 years after it was submitted to the then President, Goodluck Jonathan, in 2012. A decision was taken in order to enhance efficiency in the civil service and reduce the cost of governance. Specifically, the implementation of the report will entail the restructuring and rationalization of agencies, parastatals, and commissions. The implementation involves merging, subsuming, and outright scraping of agencies with similar functions. An 8-man committee has been constituted for the task, and it has a 12-week deadline to ensure that the necessary legislative amendments and administrative restructuring needed to implement the reforms were carried out in an efficient manner. And now we are still monitoring the NLC protests across the states in the Federation. And right now we have one of our correspondents, Ajaero, joining us from Port Harcourt. Hello, Ajaero. Good morning, sir. Hello, can you hear me? Can you let us know what the atmosphere is like in Port Harcourt and how the protest is going, and also what the security situation is like over there? Okay, this is Isaiah Benjamin from Kaduna State joining us and updating us on what exactly is going on in Kaduna State. Hello, Isaiah.
Yeah, very well. Very good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I can tell you that Kaduna State is pretty hot today, and the headquarters of the northern region, everything is going on smoothly. Now, talking about the NLC process, yes, it actually held in accordance to the instruction given by their national body. It actually commenced from their Kaduna State office located at the Independence Way, and it took a street walk to the roundabout of the Lugard Hall. The protest was actually led by two of their national officers, the state chairman of the NLC, Comrade Ayuba Suleiman, and the national president of the National Union of Textile and Tailoring Garment Workers Union. All right. But again, I can report authoritatively that the population was really not as expected. This may not be unconnected to the pulling out of the TOC from the planned protest. But the protest, I can tell you, it actually held with singing of slogans and carrying of placards. However, the entire area was fully secured, and the protest, which was very peaceful, was covered by security personnel, particularly the police. Of course, some of the placards were reading, three major issues were issues that were raised in the placards, talking about the economic hardship and the hunger, and that even the minimum wage cannot even buy a bag of rice in the present situation. Then, of course, calling on the President Bola Tinubu to do whatever he can within his powers to end the insecurity that is ravaging not only the state but a major part of the country. So basically, that was it. But like I said, the turnout of protesters, was not really very encouraging. They were not much, but again, the message was passed across. It was carried out peacefully, and it ended peacefully.
Okay. It was carried out peacefully and it ended peacefully. But sir, before you go, you talked about the the protests being on, disappointingly, not really up to par. What can you say about that? What was actually the cause or the reason why they recorded a low turnout right there in the protest?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. The thing is, like I said, if you remember vividly, the TUC had issued a statement pulling out of the planned protest, I think yesterday. Now, ordinarily, it would have been a combination of the TUC and NLC. And once the TUC and the NLC agreed to carry out a protest, the turnout is always massive. Again, some persons too may be afraid to come out. You see, but in any case, like I said, the turnout is not what it used to be in a previous protest that held in the states. But there was still a substantial number of their members that came out. But like I said, we almost seem to have been having more of the security forces just to avoid to avoid a situation whereby the protest will be hijacked by hoodlums and to cause mayhem. There were also security reports that hoodlums were actually planning to hijack the protest, thereby turning it to something else. Again, I am sure that may have been part of the reasons why some of the people did not turn out, to avoid stories that touches the heart. But I can also tell you that the security forces were stationed at various roundabouts to ensure that peace and stability ended peacefully. But the key messages that were preached, like I did say, is the message of calling on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asuaji Bola Tinubu, to do all he can within his powers to end insecurity in the country. Aside that again, there was this cry out that was contained in all the placards that we were carrying, that the minimum wage in the present situation cannot buy a bag of rice, which is very, very disappointing. And of course, they also call on the government to do all it can to end the hunger in the system, saying that an hungry person certainly is an angry person, and if nothing is done in the present situation, the situation might get worse. Now that people are passing through unimaginable situations to feed, or even the cost of transportation is on the very high side. So it's a very challenging situation, I must say. And those that came out, in spite of the fact that they were few in number, they came out with passion, to preach the message of, I can tell you, millions of people in Kaduna State that are not members of the NLC, because there's no doubt the fact that every average Nigerian is feeling the heat of the present situation. I can't imagine at the moment somebody saying a carton of Super Pack Indomie goes for 18,500. That is very, very alarming. A bag of rice, as I speak to you now in Kaduna, goes for about 78, 79, as much as 80,000. So these are the situations we are passing through. So, and those that actually came out and they spelled out their mind, and it is really very disappointing, I must say.
Thank you so much, Isaiah Benjamin, for updating us on the situation in Kaduna State.
It's always my pleasure. You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, well, let's move on. Now, we also have Adigu John, our correspondent here in the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, updating us on what exactly, the protest is looking like today in the nation's capital. Hello, John.
Hello, good afternoon.
Well, good day to you. We know that you've been following up with the protest right here in the nation's capital. Can you bring us up to speed on what that was about, what the atmosphere was like in the FCT, the atmosphere, what are the demands of the NLC and every other citizen joining the protest, and also security situation, what was that like?
All right, thank you so much. The protest actually commenced this morning at about 10 o'clock in the morning, beginning from the Labour House here in Abuja. And we saw a large number of workers. They came out with several placards reading "End Hunger in Nigeria." Nigeria should stop the policy implementing the policy of IMF and the World Bank, and several other placards. I can tell you that the turnout was very encouraging and very massive this morning. And the security situation too the atmosphere was very peaceful. The Nigerian, the presence of heavy security personnel the Nigerian police and some member of the the DSS, they were also on ground to ensure that the protest was peaceful. And the process was led from the Labour House here in Abuja. From Labour House, they moved through the popular Eagle Square, where they are heading now to the National Assembly to engage with the members of the National Assembly. So as we speak, the atmosphere is very peaceful, and there were no incident of any violence whatsoever so far.
Okay, bring us up to speed about the police interference. Has there been any sort of pushback, from that particular point when it comes to security? Is there a sense of fear in the air when it comes to presence of the police? What's the relationship like between the protesters and the security agents today?
So far there was no any incident of any violence or any clash between the protesters and the security personnel. Like I said, the atmosphere was very peaceful. They were coordinating it very peacefully, and everybody was following the guidelines given by the police earlier, that they don't want to see any violence, that they are here to protect them, to ensure that they carry out their protest successfully. So earlier, before the commencement of the protest, the NLC President, Ajaero, he spoke to us briefly before the commencement, and he insisted that the current hunger in the land and the economic challenges must come to an end. That government must implement policies that will ensure that people go to bed not hungry, they have their square meal, and the economic situation come down to the extent that the common man will be able to have what they need, food goods in the market, and to reduce the high cost of living among Nigerian workers and the Nigerian populace. So the atmosphere was fine, everything was fine, there was no incident of violence. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Adigo John, our correspondent here in the Federal Capital Territory, bringing us up to speed on the ongoing protest by the Nigerian Labour Congress protesting hardship hunger in Nigeria at the moment. Well, still on the news, President Bola Tinubu has approved the reinstatement of the monthly 25,000 naira cash payments to vulnerable Nigerians after mandating an identification system to verify the beneficiaries. Finance Minister Wale Edun disclosed this to State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting presided over by the President at the Presidential Villa on Monday. He revealed that Tinubu had ordered direct cash transfers to 12 million households to be started, or rather to be restarted immediately, but with safeguards in place. He said the use of the National Identification Numbers, NIN, and the BVNs was intended to ensure payments go directly, to verified beneficiaries and curb fraud that previously plagued the program. The Kwara State Police Commissioner, Victor Olaya, has ordered a discreet investigation into the deaths of 3 siblings who suffocated in a stationary car in Ilorin, Kwara State on Sunday. Leadership gathered that policemen on Monday visited the scene of the incident in Shango Kulende quarters, Ilorin, the state capital, on a fact-finding mission. It was gathered that the police operatives later proceeded to the family house of the mother of the deceased at Taiwo Isale Road, Ilorin, where she was recuperating after she fainted as a result of her children's death. Leadership gathered that while the family intended to settle the matter internally, the police commissioner has directed his men to go ahead with the discreet investigation in the bid to get to the root of the matter. Now, some entertainment news. Universal Music Group has acquired a majority stake in the Nigerian record label Maven Records. UMG, in a statement released on Monday, said the deal remains subject to regulatory approval and is expected to close by the end of Q3 of 2024. Investment firm Kupanda Capital will remain a minority investor and strategic advisor in the business once the transaction closes, although another investor TPG will fully exit as part of the deal. The deal will see Maven founder and CEO Don Jazzy and COO Tega Ogenejobo continuing to run the company. In a podcast interview in January 2024, Maven CEO Don Jazzy confirmed that the record label was being quoted by foreign investors. Finally, now on sports, the Super Falcons coach Randy Waldrum has urged his team to be more critical in front of goal. He said this was critical if they intended to beat their South African counterparts to the final round qualification ticket to the Paris 2024 Olympics. The news agency of Nigeria reports that the 9-time African champions piped Cameroon's Lionesses 1-0 in a crucial second leg women's Olympic football qualifier after a pulsating encounter in Abuja. But they could have paid dearly had the visitors nicked an away goal late in the tie. Nigeria had several chances to kill the game in the first half after enjoying a good start to the encounter. However, poor finishing from Jennifer Ichejini, Rashidat Ajibade, Tony Payne and Esther Okoronkwo left Nigeria holding on to their life after Cameroon gained the upper hand in the second half. Waldron told reporters during a post-match conference that his team created a lot of chances, Waldron told reporters during a post-match conference that his team created a lot of chances but failed to make them count, adding that the weather also had an adverse effect on the players. On his tactical approach to the game, he said he ensured that the best 11 started the match at home, adding, however, that he had confidence in every player, even those that didn't play the match. The news agency